Welcome to my new podcast, Founders, Builders, Innovators. Today we're going to do it in video format. I'm the host, Jori Karvonen, and today I have a very special guest, the Finland's fastest CEO, Matias Henkola. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Could you please tell a little bit more about your company, Secto Automotive?
Yeah, so Secto, we are actually the third biggest car owner in Finland. So we provide car leasing services for companies. We try to take away the hassle of owning a car. So we leave only the pleasant stuff for our end users.
Sounds great. Maybe you can share some kind of numbers of turnover.
Yeah, I was actually just trying to remember our turnover, but we made some changes from Finnish accounting standards to IFRS. And some years ago it was about 400 million, but I think due to the new how we recognize revenue this year I think it's going to be like 300 million. But more or less we have 11,000 cars and approximately 4,000 companies that use our services.
Sounds impressive. And it's company you have this already for 18 years.
Yeah, we turned 18 years 1 month ago, so already a long time. Not a startup anymore, but still I think we aim to think as a startup in some sense. Compared to our global competitors, we're quite small.
But still, it's very significant for milestone for you probably, and it's very impressive that you started from zero by yourself with your co-founders. I know Max, and the third one was Ronnie, yes, in Porvo.
Yep.
Yeah, and now you are here, one of the biggest in Finland, and you are growing international also. We're gonna discuss about that later, but maybe you can tell a little bit more the beginning. What was your motivation to become entrepreneur? Because unfortunately, we can see that in Finland, it's not so popular. We have so great level of life that people are just going to pay job and they don't want to become entrepreneurs. So what was your motivation?
I'm an entrepreneur in the fourth generation, and I can still remember that one of the advices my dad gave me was that never become an entrepreneur. It's such an hassle, and you're always stressed out and always working. But for me, I think it was. I was born with it. I've been working since I was 12 years old in my mom's and dad's company, and founded my first company when I was 18. And so I think it was pretty clear from the start.
Was your father right or wrong?
Yeah, it depends on the day when you ask. Some days when if I could decide, that I could have less stress and less responsibilities, for sure it would be good just to be able to kind of like clock out at 4 o'clock and not think about work. But yeah, I would say most days I'm quite happy with the decision.
All right. So okay, now we know your motivation, how it started, because I know Max for I was working with him in Veho 20 years ago when he was selling Mercedes-Benz cars. And how it started with you?
So actually, the whole company started. I was working in IT, and we were doing the IT outsourcing services, and a big part of what we did was it was massively complex. More complex than your setup here in the studio with servers, and you had SLA levels of what you were supposed to do for the end customer, and you had different kind of solutions that you need to do, but at the end of the day, we structured it in a way where we solved problems for customers, and also finance was involved, and at the same time, so basically I had kind of like two career paths, and which one was more professional, the other one sadly or maybe not sadly, not so professional, but racing cars, and during these years I was racing for Ford in Finland in the Finnish Rally Championship. And they had this kind of like habit that or at least back then, that they would take drivers into different kind of marketing events. And so at my day job, I saw that we had these servers and we had the massive complex structures, and we solved this kind of things for companies. And then when I saw how they sold cars, it felt quite strange, because they had this. I can still remember it was a Ford Fiesta ST, so like a small hot hatch, and they were telling about the luggage compartment, how big it was and how many buttons there was on the radio, and I was just sitting and listening to it and thinking that you should tell that it's 300 euros per month, and it's more economical compared to your old vehicle, and kind of like make it easy to buy, but that wasn't really present, and I didn't even know that there was such a thing as a car leasing company, and but then I stumbled on that there's these global giants that actually do it, and kind of like combined the service design and the financial part that I did for my day job in IT, and kind of like my passion for cars and racing, and combined these two, and that's how the company started.
I know that you are coming not from Porvo, from another small town.
No, I'm from Porvo. It was actually, I'm from a small village.
Yes.
So it was 300 persons living in the village. So proper out on the rural areas.
So what I'm trying to find here, what is your personal opinion? Because it feels like from very beginning, like when you was child, you was doing a lot of different kind of things with your hands, and you was learning a lot by doing something. I believe that was a huge help for you to become entrepreneur, because people who are living in cities, they don't have so much things to do. They are just maybe hanging out or buying ready solutions. But you was repairing your cars, doing different kind of things, like maybe in agricultural sector. What is your point of view?
Yeah, for sure. And I think I did a lot of different kind of things back home. So we basically lived at a farm. We weren't farmers, but we lived at a farm. So my mother's parents were farmers, and we lived at that house. So we had lots of space, and we had all the the tractors, and we had rally cars, and we had quads and mopeds and bikes and stuff like that. So for sure, you got to do lots of things, and you got to try out new things, and it wasn't that structured, but maybe that's a bit like having a startup.
Yeah, and you set it up, this kind of mindset that you are doing something continuously, you dedicating your time, energy there, and then something maybe can create it by doing these kind of things. So yeah. How you met your co-founders?
How I met them. So actually, Ronnie was a childhood friend of mine, and so my problem after realizing that this kind of like service isn't really available, especially in Finland, it was quite small at that time, almost 20 years ago. So after realized that there's a need for a company like Secto, I realized that I don't know anything about selling or buying or using cars. So Ronnie was actually he was in the car business for some years, and Max as well. So they were kind of like the guys that knew the trade from an asset standpoint.
So maybe you can share how it started from the beginning, like where you had money and how it was the first sales. Do you remember the first customer?
Yeah, for sure. I remember the first customers, and this is also, I think, this is for if we have startup listeners, my favorite topic when it comes to company, it's cash flow. So actually, the whole kind of like our key ingredients was to structure a financial vehicle on how we could grow and how we could buy cars and how we could finance them. So we still to this day we don't use our own balance sheet. So we have a financial vehicle on how we transfer the vehicles from our balance sheet to a refinancier, and that was actually. It was on a really small scale, and it wasn't that sophisticated back then, but still kind of like the same mechanism wasn't used then. So that was kind of like the key ingredients on how we could get off the ground at all.
Yeah. Who was your first customers?
Our first customers, I think it was a German multinational company, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I could imagine that it will be some kind of friend of friend or something, but it sounds like very international and big one.
Yeah, back then, there weren't that many companies offering car leasing services, and I think maybe it was a friend of a friend or something like this, but I can still remember it was a Ford Transit van, white.
Nice. Was it scary and a risky strategy to start some kind of new business model when the market is not educated yet and you have to take huge risk and provide something which wasn't before?
I think it's kind of like the same thing as when you look at kind of like the current macros on the economy isn't that great in Finland, and people tend to talk about that there's a bad economy, and there's lots of risk. I would like to see it as there's lots of opportunities, and always when you have a new market or you get to educate people, I think it's a massive opportunity instead of a risk.
Did you had like, as a person, did you had some kind of like uncomfortable feelings, or did you was like scary about starting this kind of business?
No, I think at first I was scared, or at first I was just excited and just it was all fun and games. But we had some tough months. I think maybe the first 9 months were really tough to kind of like get, because you have to, when you start a company you have to get everything, and so it takes some time, and after some months when still you aren't getting sales and you're starting to doubt yourself. But I don't know, you just kind of like to push through that phase, and I think that's also when you look at startups, the higher percentage of companies don't succeed, and I think that it's kind of like that phase where you just have to push through it, and that's kind of like where you have to have the scissor grit to kind of like just believe in yourself. You can't be sure if you're doing the right thing or not, but you just have to keep moving and not kind of like get traumatized and stand still.
Agree. So yeah, as you mentioned, startups are dying either on the first year or after third year, and usually majority reason of them is either money or conflict between co-founders. Did you had some kind of situation when you was almost like, hey, we have to close the company and just separate?
Yeah, for sure. We had it during the first 9 months. Several times we were thinking that are we going to make it or are we not? We didn't take on any debt on the company, so we had a bit of our own money which we invested, and so we were kind of like seeing that okay, if we would stop now, we could pay all our bills and everyone could just walk away with kind of like a clean slate. So that was kind of like always our kind of like the back end of it, that we would never fail. We wouldn't want the company to fail or make a bankruptcy. But for sure, several times in the beginning where we had conflicts between the founders, but still I think the thing which was beneficial for us, that we always tried to kind of like focus on what's best for the company and not what's best for the owner or me as a person. And I think that was really helpful in the beginning, that we kind of like we had a really strong will that we wanted to make it as a successful business.
Do you remember how you started to grow? Like, okay, after 9 months, what happened, or like, what makes you to get new customers, and then how fast you was growing at that time?
After the initial phase, I would say that the growth was actually quite okay, or maybe it was kind of like still so many years ago, but I would say that it was maybe 9 months when we were really struggling, just trying to get any traction anywhere, and then maybe it was 1 year where we got some traction, but still, it was from week to week, month to month that we were trying to make it. And for us, it was actually the financial crisis was the boom, because what happened was that our competitors were large banks, and when the financial crisis came, the credit crunch in 2009, they started to protect their balance sheets, and I remember there was a time when you couldn't get an offer from any of the banks for like 6 months. So that was actually kind of like where we got to grow and take a position where we got some customers who were doing recurring renewals of contracts.
So in a way, it was just about luck, right place, right time, and then magic happened and you got customers.
Yeah, and you know the old saying that the harder you work, the luckier you get. So it's I think most companies, if you kind of like wait for a disaster or you wait for an opportunity, it will open. But you kind of like have to be in that position, and you have to have the persistence to kind of like keep pushing. And at some point you're going to get some help from the market or whatever happens. But at the same time, you know, we could have also approached the thing that, you know, there's a credit crunch, you know, the world is going bankrupt, we have to stop or whatever. But that wasn't our mentality. It was more or less that you know everything is quite messed up at the moment, and it's easier for us as a small company to navigate it. And I think the same mentality now, you know, when we compare ourselves to our multinational competitors, you know, with a global fleet of 3 million cars. I see it as an opportunity, you know, when you have the changes in the macros, you have changes in the interest environment, you have changes in how you buy a car, how you use a car, in drivetrains, you know, changing to EVs. So there's lots of really big changes going on at the moment, and I would like to think of ourselves as, you know, the small and nimble one.
That's interesting point of view. But still, you are quite big in Finland, comparing to startups specifically.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But still, I think it's important for companies to save some of the startup culture, you know, even when you grow. And for us, I think it's been really beneficial.
That was one of my questions on the list because now you're in a way already corporate.
Mm.
Well, not so big. You have, I think, 100 more than 100 employees.
Yeah.
Well, still you are like already 18 years old company. So is there significant changes in mindset or some kind of strategic thinking when you compare your early stage as a startup and nowadays? Because you are big, you are not so flexible in a way to change maybe some things. So
Mm.
how you see that?
Yeah, of course, as you grow and as you mature, you're not as flexible as before. But then on the other hand, the path we are on at the moment, so we're transitioning from a large SME company to a small corporate. So that's basically the transitioning that we're doing as we speak. And what it means to me, it's more or less that you have to focus on certain things and get better at those things. So it's not, it doesn't have to mean that you get, you know, you get slow. I think it's all about how you organize things, how you communicate things, what you focus on, and how you execute. So from my point of view, it doesn't have to mean that you get slow as you grow.
Yeah, and also it's still like as you are changing, as you mentioned that you are transferring from SME to small corporate, this is still like keeping that flexible mindset, and you are not becoming like one big of stone.
No, exactly. And just as an example, what it means for us is that as a large SME, we did, over the years we developed quite a lot of verticals. So for instance, we had consumer sales, so we sold our returning fleet directly to consumers, and we had private leasing, and we had machinery finance, and we had different kind of verticals, which basically there were some kind of like synergies, but still it wasn't at the core. And actually during the last 2.5 years, we've been selling off kind of like the verticals and concentrating on the core, which is B2B and car leasing. I think it's important for a company to also decide what you actually want to be great at, and not try to be kind of like good at several things.
This kind of portfolio, as you mentioned, you have different kind of services or product. Is it more to play safety, or it's because maybe investors are requiring to have constant grow?
I would say that the verticals, um, we had outside investors since 2012. So I would say that the verticals started to come from maybe a bit of a push that we should have continuous growth. And at the same time, what we are doing in regards of car leasing services is quite complex. So you're kind of like, when you want to get better, you have to go deeper, and you have to go deeper into the processes. And in that sense, might be a quick fix, to kind of like take a new product or new asset and do the same thing as you did before, but with another asset. But the problem, what we found out, that it's not scalable in a sense. So it's we want to have compound growth. We're not looking for a steady growth path with kind of like being 10% better every year. And it's kind of like a different kind of ambition. If you want to be a large SME and you're happy with it, if you want to stay in your home market and you want to kind of like play it safe, then it's an okay strategy. But for us, it was quite clear that we want to kind of like push the concept and see how far we can go. We won't fail, but nobody knows. It's we can always, worst case scenario, we can always go back to being kind of like the large SME, but at least we tried.
Exactly. Great strategy. If I understand correctly, we are talking right now about concept only for Finnish market.
Yeah, currently we are only in the Finnish market.
So you basically tested the concept, you understood, you found some working strategy for you, and now you are going abroad.
Yeah, we have opened two companies abroad already. We're not operational, but we're looking for different kind of ways on how to enter other markets as well. And this is kind of like part of why we wanted to get rid of the verticals, because it's impossible if your offering is broad. It's quite hard to also to export ways of working and systems to new markets. So kind of like our choice was that we want to see how it would work on other markets, and also to get better at the core of what you do, and by that choosing not to put time and effort on things that kind of like on the side of the core.
That's very interesting to see from side, because I'm coming from the startup ecosystem where specifically software startups are moving quite fast, and they're going almost immediately international. And you did the opposite. You became the leader on the market, on the local market. You feel very strong right now, and now you just, after 18 years, you're going abroad. And it's very interesting to see that many startups, when I speak with founders, they're telling, oh, it's so difficult and it's so risky as well going to different country, because we have so big difference between cultures, and the cultures can't not be interested in the same product. So it's very interesting to follow your story, how it will go in internationally.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's also why it's the cultures are different, and kind of like the rationale for buying are different in all the countries. One thing which is good for us is that our main competitors are global companies. So basically, if you want the car leasing, if you want car leasing service in Finland or Spain or the Czech Republic or wherever you want to have it, it's basically the same. But I think it's really important that your core concept has to be really, really pinpointed.
Again, very interesting that you are going abroad. And as you mentioned, there is already huge corporates who are very feeling strong. How you are planning to compete against giants?
I think we're going to have the same strategy as in Finland. We're going to go for niche markets to get traction, and then get better, or let's say go deeper into the service levels, and in that way go to larger clients. That's what we did in Finland. We started from smaller clients, and now we're serving the largest fleets in Finland as well as the smallest ones. So now we kind of have the range to help an entrepreneur who has one car, and we are able to help a large company with maybe, let's say, 1,000 cars.
Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, majority of the time you was the CEO of the Secto.
Yeah.
You have been changing with Max and a couple of times.
No, I was actually, so basically I've been either chair or CEO, and basically I would like to identify myself as an entrepreneur, not as a CEO. CEO is more or less, or it depends on how you look at it. I like to grow, I like to develop, and at some point, there's also upkeep, and for the upkeep phases of the company, I haven't felt like it's within my strengths, or I don't enjoy it. So that's we have had outside CEOs as well.
The reason why I'm asking this, I know that you are driving rally as well.
Yeah, only as an amateur nowadays. I stopped in 2019 to race on a professional level. So,
But still, my question was how you can do the same time be CEO of the big company and drive rally professionally, because you need to dedicate, you need to train a lot for rally as well. You have only 24 hours.
Yeah, and that's why I'm only doing it as a hobby nowadays, and I'm 46 years old, so it's I don't have any ambitions within racing anymore. But also during the years I was away, I was racing in mostly in Europe, but also around the world in endurance races. So then definitely I didn't have any time to focus on the business. So there were years when I was away from the company, spending time once a month on the board meeting, and when I was in Finland going in for a cup of coffee. So definitely you can't do it both things at the same time. But nowadays my schedule is that I try to do some racing every second month, and it's just for fun.
Okay. How your daily routine looks like?
I actually have quite a strict daily routine. So I wake up and I do some circuit training, and if I have lots of time, I go for a jog in the morning, and then I start my day. So usually, kind of like my office hours start at 10 o'clock, and then it usually goes on until late evening. But that's kind of like my schedule. The rest of the days, I like to have them, quite different. I have ADHD, so having days which are always the same, that's horrible for me. So then there needs to be changes and stuff like that. But I try to keep the kind of like the morning routines that kind of like sets me up in kind of like on a positive note. So that I try to keep.
You're saying that you're working quite a lot, so there is not some kind of work-life balance, because you are the entrepreneur, you are the owner of the company, so you have to give a lot to this business, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, but at the same time, for instance, in my phone, I don't have any notifications on. So no WhatsApp, no LinkedIn, no emails. And actually, I have all of kind of like the apps where I get input. I have them hidden on the second page in a different kind of folders. I have to really kind of like go in, and I want to check my emails. So usually my phone is set on mute at maybe 6 o'clock in the evening, and I might not answer the phone after that, and I might not read my emails, or I might. So it's I also put things on pause. I think that's really important.
That's funny to hear, because when I was inviting you on LinkedIn, you was answering me at 12 at night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I chose for some reason that I will answer at that point.
Yeah, all right.
No, but and I'm a night owl. If I have to write something, or if there's a concept that we're kind of like what I'm thinking about, I think all of the best work that I've done is between 11 and 2 o'clock in the morning. When everything is quiet, no one is calling, I don't have any other distractions, and that's how my brain works.
Is it like when you have this kind of, maybe when you're working remotely, having maybe video calls or meetings, is it more about making decision in very fast or short time period as CEO?
Yeah, I would say, when the company was smaller, maybe more then, but now, we have a professional management team that is running day-to-day business. So not so much anymore. If lots of decisions would need to come to my table, the company wouldn't be running properly, and it can't be in that way. For a smaller company, yes, then it was probably like that, but nowadays, no. it shouldn't be dependent on me. If I get run over by a bus tomorrow, it's the company should function as before.
Do you miss that old time when you was a small startup or small company?
Yeah, you were always, you were 24/7. There was for sure for the first 10 years, I didn't, put my phone on silence, or if someone would call in the evening or send an email at 9 o'clock, for sure I would answer it, right away. So I think there's quite a big difference between that. But on the other hand, it's not sustainable to kind of like just push yourself all the time. You need to get balance in life, otherwise you can't do it.
And there should be some kind of reward, like when you work hard, you need to receive bigger prize for that as well.
Yeah, exactly, and also you need to enjoy it. All of kind of like the steps that we taking with Secto, it's always been, the driver has been, this would be really cool, this would be really nice. We want to try this, and then then you go into a phase where you work quite a lot, and you develop quite a lot. But it's always been, as a choice that this would be fun, this would be a cool thing to do.
So if I hear again you correctly, you are talking a lot with your clients, collecting some kind of feedback and trying to improve your business based on their reviews. Does it work also for you with maybe manufacturers, like when we talk about the fleet and these companies who are providing you the cars? Are you providing them some kind of feedback? Hey guys, this doesn't work, you need to change. Are they listening you as well?
Yeah, for sure. And if you look at the core of our business, basically, at the core, we're managing massive amount of different kind of information, and vehicles. There a lot of them are benefit cars, so we're kind of like in the HR game as well. They're all financed, so we're talking with CFOs, and it's part of like the capital structure of our clients. So you have massive amount of different kind of stakeholders in our business, and for sure the OEMs are a big part of it as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Coming back to early stage, when you was starting your business, how you get banks interested in you, because you was so small business, and again it was risky. It was new thing for market. So how you get it?
So basically, that's exactly the right question. It was risky, or was it? So actually, what we did is that we made a mechanism where we risked it for the banks, and so we made a structure where we could leverage our customers' creditworthiness for our growth. So that was one key part of it. But then I can remember a fun anecdote from the beginning when we made our first finance deal, and we were 3 persons in the company, or maybe it was 4, and we were trying to make a deal with one of really large financial institution, and so we had an office, but it was almost empty, and it kind of like, I wanted to put some bells and whistles on it. So what we did is that we invited the bank to our office, but I got some friends there. So I got one friend to be kind of like the receptionist, opening the door, and kind of like in business attire, and then I had a couple of friends sitting at the sofas, reading the Kauppalehti, the Financial Times of in Finland, and then there was another friend who was sitting in the conference room, kind of like talking on the phone or doing some work, and we were kind of like, hey, sorry, we got the conference room reserved. So we kind of like also made it kind of like a small play, just to make it seem more professional. So tricks and games, it's no harm, no foul, but it worked, and we made the deal, so all good at the end.
Yeah, like
still working with them 18 years later. So
in startups, when we have small teams, you are doing a lot of different kind of things. You can be pivoting, but then when you grow and you have like 100 people or more, it's becoming already a small corporate. And how open are you for mistakes? Because in corporates, it's all about KPI, about performance, and then there is no room for mistakes and reflection.
Mm. I think we are actually we try to be, and I believe we are a value driven company, and one of our values is that we're a trailblazer, and I think making mistakes and being a trailblazer kind of like goes hand in hand, and yeah, so if you want to do something new, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's part of the process.
And
It's
you're open for that.
yeah, for sure. If you don't do any mistakes, it's not possible to do anything new or to create. If you're in a business where you just want to keep stagnant or where you kind of like want to protect your kind of like 5% yearly growth, maybe maybe you should aim not to make mistakes then. But if you're trying to lead by example, if you try to grow faster than the market, you need to make mistakes.
Mhm. Is there something from automotive sector would you like to raise and the other players or stakeholders are not saying so much in public? Some kind of things or fact?
Yeah, maybe one thing that kind of like the whole way in how cars are being owned and purchased are going to change quite a lot. I think if you go 5 years fast forward, the brands will be quite different. The drivetrains, of course, it's EVs. It's not nothing new to anyone that we're transitioning towards them, but also the way on how you buy it, it will be quite different. We can see it from our business to business customers. 75% of our end users go to a car dealership for the first time when they go and pick up the car. So it's at the from our point of view, it's more a logistics center than a place where they get service or where they look at the hardware. And also and it kind of like goes hand in hand with the EV transition, that cars are getting more similar, because a battery pack is a battery pack, an electric motor is an electric motor. What actually differentiates cars are the tech, how efficient they are, and kind of like the touch and feel of it. So it's getting more similar, and people tend not to go for test drives that much, and that kind of like changes where you go and how you buy. So I think the OEMs have a massive transition ahead of them to serve their customers in a way that they want to be served.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see in which kind of world we are living and moving forward, because as you remember, probably 20 years ago, we had CD disc. When you want to play music or play the game, you have to buy some kind of physical product. Nowadays, it's either digital or you just renting. So, for example, YouTube, you don't have to buy the music. You can, in a way, rent it for a while, but then you are giving back. And I believe it's also Omago, the company who is providing for B2C in Jätkäsaari. So I see in every corner their cars. So specifically for people who are living in center, you don't have to buy anymore your own car. You just give application, rent it for a very short time period to move yourself to another place, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And also if you just look at how people are working, remote work, you don't have to go to work or to the office every day, and so I think it's a constant change, and yeah, for sure.
Did COVID time affect your audience or customers, clients in that way, that because now people's minds also change, and as you mentioned, they're moving more to remote work. So was there some kind of significant change for your business model?
Yeah, we could actually see that there was a drop in kilometers for our vehicles. So we could see that people were driving less, and since COVID, so people are they're not driving necessarily every day to the office or going to the customers place of business, but you can really see it. We were changing office half a year ago, and we're looking at different kind of office spaces, and we have one of our offices in Porvoo on the east side of Helsinki, and we were the first kind of like initial plan that we would have it in Espoo on the west side, because the center is quite hard, for people who commute. And when we went to look at the office spaces in Espoo, half of the office spaces were empty. You could really see that, where are everyone? And so I think it will change quite a lot.
Yeah, that's very interesting for business owners as well, because now they have to change and apply to new reality. Because of that, many business types or business models will be changed in future as well. Not only car industry or software industry, but also like, I guess, food industry, restaurants, everything will be changed.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, this is something that we'll be struggling with, or with the same way as everyone else, how to get people back to the office, because if you want to grow and if you want to develop, it's teamwork. It's you can't do it, through teams. It's really hard to develop or change ideas. So we want people to meet, but at the same time we want to give flexibility and just the benefits of remote working. So to kind of like to find the balance of that. So that's the same thing that we've been struggling with our employees as everyone else.
Yeah, and I confirm, because I have also my opinion that remotely sometimes doesn't work, and on site it works much better. Specifically with my team, we sometimes struggle to do things remotely, and we have to come to office to do some kind of urgent cases in better quality. So yeah, confirm.
Yeah, exactly. And remote work is really good as a tool, but if you only use remote work, it's a bit challenging. For kind of like simple tasks, it's okay, but at the same time, we have technical advancements coming to do basic tasks. So the focus should be, maybe on, talking to each other and coming up with new stuff.
Yeah. Let's go back to your business and about financial topic. I would like to ask you, do you find difficult to find for your future growth or going internationally investors? I remember you just made some kind of deal with Hartwell
Capital, yes.
Yeah.
Half like 9 months ago.
Yeah, because for startups, for example, raising big funding rounds, it's quite difficult in Finland. We don't have so much capital, so they have to invite investors outside of Finland. What is your perspective from car automotive sector?
Yes, so my take on it, again, as said in the beginning, that my favorite topic is cash flow, and so for instance, Secto is making we have a cash conversion of 120% or something like that. So we haven't really ever needed any outside investment for growth. So the business funds itself, and that's all part of how it's structured. So it's and often I have people talking about, okay, what kind of like financial agreements or arrangements do you have? And my answer is, it's the process, it's the rhythm of business and how you do it. So you have to structure it from day one and start with cash flow, because there's usually one large crisis in a company, and that's when you're running out of cash, and other crises you can manage quite well. So we've been, or at least for me, it's been kind of like the key component. But on the other hand, looking at the startup scene, we've been quite slow in our growth. 18 years is quite a long time. So maybe I'm too conservative, but that's been kind of like my philosophy of growing, but with a strong cash flow.
Cash flow is the king.
Yeah, I think it's one way of doing business, at least. You can do it in other ways, but I think that's also kind of like as an entrepreneur, you have to find kind of like your comfort zone. And for me, taking lots of risk in places which you can't control, that's not something I feel comfortable in. So I like to take risk, but you have to be able to kind of like hedge the losses. And so just going on a massive growth spree without a backup plan and different kind of scenarios, it wouldn't feel good to me. So
Yeah, and I believe it's also depend on the business type, because, for example, again, in startup ecosystem, we have, in a way, rules that we have to raise all the time VC money to grow, to burn this money, and it's like dance with evil that you don't stop the dance, the evil stop. So there is a lot of risk for founders. They can lose everything, and there is always a priority who is exiting in the next funding rounds, and usually it's investors. But again, I'm totally understand your point of view, and it's maybe, again, I don't have so much knowledge from your sector, but it sounds for me that there is specific sectors having specific business types or strategy for raising money.
yeah, exactly, and you can do it in different kind of way. But I think it's my advice to founders would be that find kind of like the comfort level, or kind of like the risk level that where you feel comfortable, because that's where you get the sleepless nights, when you're starting to take risk which you can't live with. And I think it's good to kind of like think about those type of things when you set up your company, and how you structure and how fast you want to grow, and what kind of company you want to end up with at what point, and do you want to exit the company, or do you want to work with it long term. So I think those are things which are quite good to think about at a quite early stage.
Yeah, before studying.
Yeah, and but still not not kind of like planning 20 years ahead, because it's plans. If you make a business plan which is too detailed, reality usually doesn't turn out that way. So you have to be flexible.
Yeah, and then in this kind of world which we are living now, there is so many things affecting to business, wars and disasters. So you don't know what happened in 1 year.
Yeah, exactly. And you just, if you go 5 or 6 years back, it's been one disaster after another. It's quite sad that we have to live in kind of like a period of time when lots of really, really bad things are happening. But at the end of the day, we all have to, go by our daily stuff, and we have to keep going. But, if you're position yourself in a place where you're taking too much risk, and the world changes, you're gonna be unhappy. Then the company will fail, or you have to lay off people or whatever. So I think that's really important, that you kind of like really kind of like look yourself in the mirror, and decide what kind of like risks you're willing to take.
Yeah, and also, as you mentioned at the beginning, that crises always bring new opportunities. So depending on the type of the person, some people are looking for this kind of situation to build something new and bring to the market.
Yep. No, exactly.
Okay, Matias, back in the days in motorsport, we had great legends like Schumacher, Senna, and at that time, in that generation, they were pure adrenaline. There was super competitive situation and atmosphere. Nowadays, if we check, for example, F1 drivers, they're hanging out together. They're like a friends. So the killer instinct is dead. And what do you think about that, and also how it's applied in the business world? Like, do you see that the new generation brings different vibes, and how it's applying to business?
Yeah, I would say for sure it's probably changed, but I think there was lots of things going on behind the scenes. For instance, let's say Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost was kind of like thought that they were kind of like enemies, but still they had massive respect for each other, and they spent quite a lot of time. So I think one thing is that it's more open, transparent. We all carry our own media platforms on us, and so it's more visible. But at the same time, I think also cooperation and kind of like people aren't arguing that much, as persons, but instead you can go really head to head. But it doesn't mean that I hate you or you hate me.
Who is your favorite Formula One driver and Le Mans driver?
My favorite driver for sure, it's Lewis Hamilton. At his prime, almost feels bad to say, he's 40 years old, but you can see that kind of like reflexes might have gone down a bit, and that's natural. But at his prime, he was really amazing. Really just pulling out all the performance in qualifying racecraft. I really would say that he's number one for me. And then on the other hand, Max Verstappen for sure. It's the really natural talent, just the way that he's extracting pace from a really hard to drive car and managing it. So it's quite amazing. But for me, Lewis.
I see in Max, I see in person a lot of killer instinct. He's very aggressive on the track.
Yeah, really aggressive on the track. And my take is that it's also kind of like the messaging on that he has a killer instinct. It's also part of kind of like his persona, like professional persona. I would say that from what I understand, he's a super laid back person. But yeah. His kind of like professional, the perception of him is that he's quite ruthless.
What about Le Mans 24? Because it's totally different race. It's endurance. So who is your favorite driver and why?
Le Mans driver. Actually, there's a Finnish driver. There was a competition, or there wasn't a competition, but there was kind of like putting all the greatest drives in the world in from everything from rallying, from F1. And number one was actually JJ Lehto's stint during the night at the 95 Le Mans when they won with the McLaren. So that was actually kind of like voted as the best drive ever in any car. So I would say JJ Lehto.
Well, I know it's very bad to compare, but like if we think about rally drivers, F1, Le Mans, I heard many people are thinking that rally drivers are more professional because it's totally different to drive rally on the high speed with a very difficult road instead of just on asphalt, drive high speed and that's it.
No, it's a different kind of trade. I did professionally. I did it on track. I've been doing it rallying as an amateur, as a hobby. It's two different trades. I'm not a good rally driver. I'm quite decent on track. So different kind of trades. But in rallying, you kind of like you go for the 95%. On track, you go for the 99%. So it's more edgy on track. And then of course there's a whole different thing, that you're driving against other persons. So you need to have the racecraft, which you don't need to have in rallying. So two different kind of trades.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have driven Le Mans 24.
Actually, that's pretty much done. There's two 24-hour races which I haven't driven. So one is Le Mans, and the other one is Daytona 24 hours. So that's two of the races which I never did. So and that's basically Le Mans is part of the WEC, so World Endurance Championship, and I never entered that one. So
okay, but you still mentioned that you have driven some kind of endurance race.
Yeah, for instance, let's say the place where I actually raced the most, and my favorite place in the world, was the Nürburgring. So the Nordschleife, the long way around, and 25 kilometers, and which was actually won by a Finn last Sunday, first
Nice.
time ever. Yeah, Jesse Crow. So hi to him, and congrats. So that was actually my favorite race of them all. You had 150 cars on track, different kind of vehicles. You had the really slow cars, and then you had the GT3 cars, which I was driving, and so you had it was really kind of a special situation, but a really nice event.
Is there something from motorsport which you are applying in the business world?
Yeah, lots of things that I take there. For instance, one thing which is probably my kind of like go-to is limiting factor. So what's the limiting factor? So, for instance, in a car, you could let's say that your tires are bad, so you don't concentrate on the aerodynamics or on the engine power, because the limiting factor are the tires. So you concentrate on getting the tires right, and then when you find the next limiting factor, and that's one way of thinking which I brought into business. I always think about what's most important at this point, and let's fix this first, and then we can look at other parts.
Even if you prepare it for 100%, you can fail of a different kind of reason. It can be that another driver will hit you, or you miss the pit strategy went wrong. in the business world the same. On the paper can look very fantastic, but then reality hit and something went wrong. So how you manage this kind of situation?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the key topic is that you can't control everything. You know, you can make a plan, and usually it doesn't work out that way. But you can prepare for everything. You have to be ready to lose if you want to win, because you lose lots of times before you get that one win, both on track and in business.
Okay. Well, Matias, that was a pleasure to have you here as a guest. One last question. If you can say a couple of words, motivation words, to new entrepreneurs who are just starting their business, some kind of tips or just some motivates them.
My greeting would be that when you get the hard days, it's part of the normal process, and don't give up, and keep your cash flow at core.
And last question. Who would you like to see as my next guest? Will be interesting to hear his story or insights.
I would take the person I just mentioned, Jesse Krohn, who just won the 24 Hour of Nürburgring. I think he would be a good guest.
I will try to contact him. Yeah. Thank you very much, Matias.
Thank you.